Two. Hi, hello, and welcome to Hair in the Hawthorn. My name's Kate Ray. I am your host, and here we talk about all things paranormal, supernatural. And today we're going to be delving into Santa's sack of high strangeness. And I've got a guest who's no stranger to me and has also been on the show before. You can scroll down and find out more about him in a previous video, which, God, it's got to be about 5 years ago since I've sat down and actually talked on Hair in the Hawthorn. Um, with a man who needs very little introduction, and he's my boss and a very good friend of mine, Mr. Barry Guy. Welcome, Barry. Thank you for coming along.
Hello, hello, Kate, and thank you for having me back. I didn't realize it's been that long since we last did this.
It was,
I
it was,
think,
it was like literally it was season two, just after season two.
wait, God, I've been seriously busy since then, haven't I?
Yeah, definitely. And some of that we're going to talk about, definitely going to talk about. Now, just because people may not have seen that video, and some people who watch Hair in the Hawthorn or maybe more fairy orientated or more folklore orientated. So just explain a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am a professional paranormal investigator. My name is Barry Guy, yeah, and I think Kate's already told you that. I am also a TV presenter for the show Help My House is Haunted and Celebrity Help My House is Haunted, and I also appear on another show called Unexplained Caught on Camera, which has made the rounds across the world as well. So I've been doing this job quite a long time, and I say professionally because I'm lucky and I'm fortunate actually enough to get paid to do a job that I absolutely love. That is the most important thing. So, I guess my background comes not just from the paranormal world. I graduated from university. I've studied very hard. I have a degree in history and media studies. And in fact, my first job was working in television, but as a runner. I actively worked in a production company there as a runner and a researcher, and then I worked my way up to a junior assistant producer before changing career paths completely because I got made redundant, unfortunately. So worked my way through to education, where I ended up for 16 years as head of apprenticeships for a local authority. So I studied post-16 education, qualified as a teacher as well, and I have lots of academic experience in other areas. But people often ask me that, and they know some people that know me well ask me about that. And I said, well, how come you're doing what you're doing now? And the truth is, I fell into this, as a hobby and a passionate paranormal practitioner. I was fortunate enough to be offered an opportunity to work in television to do what I love, and I haven't looked back. So for the last 8 years, I've been presenting Help My House is Haunted, and it's been an absolute blast. Yeah, and I'm here now after 119 episodes.
It's amazing. It is amazing. And I think the thing is, with the world of the paranormal, and I do talk to people about this a lot, it's for all the people that I've spoken to who have been fortunate enough to get roles on screen. The one thing that stands out with them all is I'm doing what I love and getting paid for it. And that's over and above being on telly
Yeah,
because there is no other area other than events, which aren't huge amounts of money, that pays. I often say the dead don't pay. So, it's like people need reminding of that. I think sometimes that when you're passionate about something and you've got that driving force, it's nice to be recognized with a income from it, isn't it?
oh no, 100%. I mean, I've worked very hard to obviously to get to that stage. It wasn't just pure luck, I spent a long time, as you know, Kate, with my team, the Ghost Finder Paranormal Events team, which used to be and it still is in some form the Ghost Finder Paranormal Society. So I established the GPS Ghost Finder Paranormal Society 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago now, actually, and that really helped to solidify my position in the paranormal field. And it started at a time when there were only a couple of hundred, maybe, paranormal groups. Now there are thousands.
Mm.
And I helped to pioneer lots of different things that we still do today across the board. The way we investigate. In fact, I know so many people that run their own paranormal teams that were fans of me that came on my events 20 years ago, learned how I did things, and then set themselves up to do their own events. So, I'm actually very thankful and I'm honored, flattered that that happened to some extent. Um, I do feel exactly the same as you with regards to the fact that I'm doing a job that I'm passionate about and I love, and I am so lucky to be paid to do that. So I get to give back to the world with this level of passion and happiness. And that shows, I'm sure, on screen and everything I do, because I give all my energy and all my love to everything I work on.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've worked with you nearly best part of a decade now, or coming up the best part of a
Yeah,
decade, and it is unwavering. And I can honestly say that, when we're out in events and stuff, it is an unwavering enthusiasm for what you're doing and imparting that knowledge onto other people. One of the things that I want to pick up on, and it's something that we'll revisit a little later on because it will come into play with one of the topics that we're going to be talking about, is you use the term professional ghost hunter, a professional paranormal investigator, which I've had discussions in the field with a lot of people, and I'm sure you have. And one of the things that I think that people find difficult with that title is not understanding where the word professional comes from. Now, in education, when we talk about somebody who is a professional within education, not just teaching, but if somebody takes on a another role within teaching, maybe it's SEN special needs or whatever
yeah,
they can call themselves a professional after 10,000 hours of working with special needs, and they are seen as a professional. Now, in my mind, if somebody calls themselves a professional paranormal investigator, it is 10,000 hours of investigating and researching. And I can honestly say that you have probably done that 10 times over with the amount of stuff you're doing.
I wouldn't say 10 times over, but near there. I lost count after 10,000. No, I agree with you. I've been asked a question before. In fact, I was ridiculed and criticized. Oh, how dare you call yourself a professional paranormal investigator? And I had to defend myself. And I'm quite happy defending myself if I feel I'm right. If not, put my hands up and say, yeah, I'm sorry about that. But I would consider myself a professional paranormal investigator because of the hours and the effort and the energy and the commitment and the passion that I've dedicated over 2 decades and more, in fact, 25 years. And I get paid to do my job at a level where I would consider myself more experienced within the field. So you're right. In order to call yourself an expert, remember there's a difference between expert and professional here. The expert is someone that maybe has the academic qualifications to validate, back up, and substantiate their ideas and their why they do things. I don't have an academic qualification in paranormal studies. I haven't got a parapsychology degree. I'm well read. I've studied. Ever since I was little, I read all the books I could find on the supernatural in order to further understand my own paranormal experiences. And then I think as I've developed into an adult and started to do this for a living, I've gained the experience in the field, which then qualifies me to say, yes, I think I'm a professional at what I do, given the number of hours that I've committed to doing this. And the very fact that I'm therefore considered by others, peers within the field, to be at that level. And that's it. I suppose I stay humble though. I try to just enjoy what I do. I know what I know. I crack on, and I don't want to bother anyone.
Yeah, stay in your own lane. And it's interesting that you say about qualifications because it's what does qualify you to be a paranormal investigator? Because certainly just parapsychology doesn't. Having I've done a couple of diplomas in parapsychology under Kieran O'Keefe, and it's to me that doesn't set you up to be a ghost hunter. That sets you up to look at parapsychology, which So where is it that people are claiming that they're getting those qualifications from to say that they are actually a
Yeah.
qualified ghost hunter?
You're right. There's no regulated qualifications out there. I mean, the diplomas, even Dr. Kieran O'Keefe and other people that I know in the industry, they aren't regulated qualifications that are regulated by the standards authorities, the qualification awarding bodies as such. Um, you can get degrees or parapsychology degrees and therefore study and get doctorates in that area at certain specific universities. Absolutely fine. But always remember this, and for all your viewers out there, that parapsychology is a branch of psychology. It is abnormal psychology and a very, very small facet of what is a very pure academic subject matter. So I could write a book right now, 10,000 words on the experiences that I've had and the subject matter, which I mean, I started writing books and stuff. I never get to finish them, mind. But that's because of everything that I've learned over the years, everything that other people have told me, and other things that I've read or picked up on. Bring it all together, and you come up with your own conclusions. But all of those people before us have done the same thing. So always think of this as every single person watching this, your experience matters, your passion matters, everything that you've dedicated and committed your life to doing within this subject area. Write about it, document it, put that down. So other people can benefit and learn from it. That's why it's important to do videos, YouTube videos, podcasts, you're getting the word out there. You're telling people a bit more and informing them about subjects that really not a lot of people fully understand.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that kind of sharing is, and it's a subject that we can either touch on there a little later on, but it's a subject that's being diluted a lot within the community. So we have gone from a world of being able to have healthy debates about the subject or about any subject into just complete trashing and diatribe from people, which really doesn't strengthen any kind of data that we may get, any kind of new information that we may get. It's just anything out of the off the beaten track or anything that's not normally talked about within the subject matter, anything new brought to the board is literally ripped down straight away without really looking into a subject. I know that I've come across it quite recently on a personal level. And and I know that you have as well from talking to you, but felt like I've had to really go out and defend a corner, but doing it in a way that's no, I know I'm right on this, and this is the history, and this is the folklore, and
Yeah.
this is where I'm coming from. I mean, is that something you want to chat about now, or do you want to leave that till a bit later on in the talk?
That's up to you. I mean, I'm quite happy to talk about it now. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, people in the field can be quite bitchy. That's it, simple as that. And I have found personally that I've always tried to keep myself out of it. Don't
Hmm.
get embroiled in the paranormal politics and drama that I see unfolding on a daily basis.
Hmm.
I think I've learned to step away from it, and a lot of people consider me to be an absolute arrogant snob. I've heard it. I've heard what people say. Barry thinks he's better than the rest of us and stuff. It's not that at all, because I stay away from it all, keep my nose clean, and I'll just carry on and focus on what I'm doing and not worry about what other people are doing. But what you just said earlier about recent events, yeah, I get it, because there are people out there that like to trash any of the work you do. For example, YouTube, right? Brand new YouTube channel that I've created at the Ghost Ghai, and I put some new content up there, paranormal investigations, trying to educate some of the audience there about the equipment that I'm using, the REM pod, the Alice box, whatever. These are the things that I want to put out there on my new channel. And the paranormal investigations that I've recorded on there, some of them have been brilliant. The first two investigations, my wife Emma has been filming me. As you know, we went recently to a place in South Wales at Llanigrafon Manor. Amazing experiences. Spirit wave ITC responses, EVPs, Alice box responses, and disembodied voices and sounds that scared the hell out of us. Okay, all genuine, all captured on camera, and all put up there on the channel for people to watch. Now, the problem is, you put stuff out there, and there are people out there in the paranormal community that want to trash your good name and trash what you've done. And there's only one reason for that, and that's jealousy. It's jealousy, and it's also a method that they use to try and elevate themselves it's like clickbait to get more followers, more views, more notoriety. So there's a PT that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, James Smith. He's brilliant. Okay, and he said this. It's quite appropriate. He said that people will pick a fight with other people in their game that are on there that level in order to get beef with them, and so that beef turns into traction, and that traction turns into views, hits, clout, boom. That's it. That's the only reason why these idiots do it. And unfortunately for me, I've just recently been subject to that crap. Honestly, it's to the point where I'm like, why would someone take their time, take my video, watch it all, rip it apart by commenting on every single aspect of my investigation, the way I've edited it, okay, the sound, the use of sound, the very fact I've had to amplify certain aspects of the video in order for the audience to hear it, and critique and criticize everything only to get more views and traction on their own page and stuff. It's unfair because actually it's defamation of character as well. There's a lot of it that was bullshit. It's all unfounded. It's all content that yes, you can critique anyone's work, no problem, but you have to back it up. Back it up with some science, back it up with some technical knowledge, back it up, but they haven't. This individual hasn't backed it up with anything. There's nothing there that supports any of the claims at all. And as far as I'm concerned, it's an unfair game. Why should we have to go through it, Kate? We shouldn't. We work very hard. It takes a long time to put good content out there, and for other people to just trash it in a second because they think they're doing the world a favor. They're not calling out anybody. In fact, there's no reason for them to do it at all, other than to elevate their own status and to make them seem better and bigger than they are. And I do feel sorry for these people.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's a shame because the rest of the world is viewing the British paranormal scene under that kind of umbrella, and it just brings the whole a whole cloud over what we do and how we work. And it was like I was saying about there seems very little room for mature debate and for right to reply and for a critical analysis that's intelligent critical analysis. And I think it's highlighted for me the most when so-called debunkers start getting
Yeah,
personal with people. So commenting on people's appearances, people's how people speak, um, not just sort of techniques. They're not just looking at techniques. It goes into a realm of calling names,
yeah,
and it because for whatever reason there is a huge following of people who love this kind of popcorn scenario where it's like going into a market square and chucking rotten tomatoes at somebody and not knowing why. That's how I view it.
yeah, Kate, you're right. And there's a recent a self-proclaimed debunker, paranormal debunker. I'm not even going to mention any names here, who actually took the mickey out of my height and my colleague and the way we do things on screen. There's no substance to it. All it was a very, very nasty form of narcissistic bullying. It portrayed that person as a bully and a narcissist. And that person wouldn't dare say it to my face, Kate. No one would. Absolutely 100%. And if they did, well, I'm not going to say what would happen, but yeah. You know what? And that's the problem, isn't it? It's keyboard warrior style, work
Mm.
here. Um, and yeah, that the other issue is there's no legal defense anymore. It's so painless, or painful, sorry. For me personally, I'm constantly thinking, oh my God, do I need to contact my solicitor again? I write a letter, I write an email, cost me 300 quid, and then they write back, and it's back and forth and stuff. For what? It doesn't actually
Mm.
resolve anything at the end of the day. YouTube is quite clever, all right? And I'm going to talk about this on a future YouTube episode. Do you mind me talking about this now, Kate?
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Because here's the thing, right? So these debunkers and these people, I'm going to call them infringers, okay? They take your copyrighted work that you've created, they reuse it unfairly, not fair use, okay? They unfairly use it because taking all of your work, even if they're critiquing, commenting on it, but because they haven't backed up or validated their critique scientifically or academically, and they've simply just used it to trash you out and to make themselves feel bigger and better about things. Um, so the person affected, moi, can ask YouTube to take that video down and to give that person a copyright strike. Okay, this happens a lot. That happens almost immediately. And what YouTube does is they use an automated algorithm checker. Basically, it's a robot that checks through the videos in question. It compares the two videos and it says, yes, that's definitely utilized too much of your content unfairly. Then a human being checks the work of the computer and then verifies it, yes or no. So in most cases, yeah, it gets taken down. That's great. The infringer, the debunker, that person, they can then contact YouTube and say, oh, I'm going to file a counter notification because I think that claim was unfair. So guess what? Guess what happens? YouTube then step back and they go, oh no, now it's going into legal territory, so we won't do anything. We'll put the video back up in 10 days if we don't hear from the other party with regards to legal proceedings taking place. You know how much it costs to take each one of these idiots to court? Thousands. I don't care. I don't have the money, so I don't care. So what's the point? Because at the end of the day, you're battling just for a little victory win. The only problem is, though, these little small-minded individuals go back and then they make another video going, "We won! Yay!" It's just ridiculous. It's embarrassing, to be honest with you. But I can't be bothered with it, Kate. I mean, you've seen it firsthand. You know what it's like. And these debunkers, they get nowhere. Honestly, they make themselves look silly.
Like I say, though, for me, it overshadows a whole community and a community that, in my mind, is absolutely rich with an amazing people who are hardworking,
Yeah.
doing great jobs, whether under the radar or out in the open doing great work. And it's literally that there is no point to ripping apart community when we could be sat down having adult discussions about what's real and what's not. And I think one of the shames is if those debunkers were to actually critically ask those questions and maybe put a right to reply out to the people whose video it is and say, we're finding some discrepancies in X, Y, and Z. Would you like the right to reply to it? And start opening up that debate. Because when you're making YouTube content, especially when it's out on investigation, you're there for hours and hours and hours. It's not like these things are happening bish bash bosh like within the first 10 minutes of you being in a property. And you have to then sit down and collate that in a way that is viewable and tangible and intelligent. There are going to be times when you're going to have to cut at certain points, and this was one of the things that was brought up, and I would like to give you that platform to write to reply to this. So one of the aspects was about cutting in EVPs, sort of when you get EVP responses.
Well, for me personally, so remember, I'm filming, what Emma's filming me. We're filming all night long, okay? So that could be 3, 4, 5 hours. And when you then ingest it and you're going to put it on your editing software, wherever you're using, the only reason I'm cutting it is to make it flow. So for me personally, from the background of my television background, I'm creating a story which has got a start, a middle, and an end. And to do that properly, you need to be able to tell it properly without losing the engagement of your audience. So when
Yeah.
you cut your work, you're cutting it to make sure that it's pacey enough and it's dramatic enough and it's entertaining enough. That is common sense. That is the world of television. Okay. YouTube is no different. Have an audience that are watching, screaming out for paranormal content. So I'm going to make sure that my video from 1 hour and 40 minutes is going to be 25 minutes. Simple. I made two parts because actually there was quite a lot of content. And so, in answer to that person's query or whatever it was, I had no choice but to cut my video in order to keep the pace moving. And also because there was things like my wife, for example, didn't want to be on camera saying stuff and whatever. So I had to cut her out and that kind of stuff. She's filming me. I'm not filming myself. I'm not having another paranormal buddy there with another camera looking at me. Like there's so many wannabes out there that think they're like, the Sam and Colbys of the world or, you ghost trippers or whatever. No, you're not. You're all crap. I'm sorry. It's simple as, okay? They're just wannabes that are doing the same thing, trying to recreate the wheel all the time, constantly looking for likes, views, hits, and monetization. It is so difficult to make any YouTube content now and make sure that it is professional and slick. And to do that takes time and effort and energy. When you have an hour and 40 minutes and you want to make it into a manageable chunk, 25 minutes, half an hour, that's it. You have to cut it. And it needs to be pacey and it needs to flow. With regards to some of the audio queries that I've heard were mentioned, they had no choice but to be lifted. So Emma and I heard a disembodied voice. I'm not even going to go into the details and specifics. People can watch it for themselves. We heard something. It scared the shit out of us. Okay, genuinely. I'm wearing lapel mic. You know, it's one of these DJI mics that you stick on here. It's a radio mic essentially. And what it does is it's picked up by your recording device. Me, I'm using my phone or a different phone, and it picks up brilliantly. But the audio that was recorded of that disembodied sound was quite low. Now, as it was lower, I needed to make sure that I maximized that hit, which was mind blowing on the program, on that episode. So I have to amplify the audio. Now, there are also some parts that look like they're out of sync. I know that because I rewatched it back again. I went, oh shit. And you know what? I'm going to put my hands up and say, yeah, it wasn't the best edit in the world. I did rush it. It was my second upload, my second paranormal investigation upload. Okay, not 160th, my second. And the syncing, the audio sync was slightly out, where transitions and cuts that I've made have meant that the audio just needed resyncing. And to go through that is an absolute ball ache. It does take time. I did it once, I did it twice. And when I uploaded it, I realized that there was a couple of bits that were slightly out of sync. So there's delays either with the sound or my voice or whatever. So yeah, I'll put my hands up and say, yeah, that wasn't the best edit in the world. It was 25 minutes of me trying my best. And yeah, sorry if it wasn't good enough to you debunkers out there and stuff. There is no fraudulent activity. It isn't something that has gone wrong. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was incredibly slick, and like you say, getting used to that because you are in front of the camera, you're editing, you're doing the whole shebang. You know, coming from TV production into that kind of quality is
Yeah.
very admirable. It is very admirable. And what I'd like to say about it is that particular clip, and please people go and watch it, watch the whole lot. But there was that particular clip of a growl that was heard,
Yeah.
and I've known you long enough to know that you can't act for shit. And your reactions when I see you react like that, I know that that's a genuine reaction to something that you've heard. I mean, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, but I've been out on investigations with you before, and you've been a big girl's blouse about it, you know. And but that's you. You have genuine reactions to situations. And the other thing from my perspective is, I've been GPS GPE for a very long time and done hundreds of hours both
Yeah.
events wise with you as well as in residential. And I have never once, and I wouldn't work with anybody who I had the slightest inkling that there was anything off kilter going off. I just wouldn't. Any kind of red flag to me, and I would be gone because I wouldn't want to be associated with that. So it kind of hits me as well as you, and I would think it hits the rest of the team as well, because
Yeah.
it's not just you that people are kind of saying you're faking. We are part of your team, and our integrity as a team is absolutely paramount. If note happens on a night out, note happens on a night out, you know, and we've always had that. We've always said to guests, you know, if nothing happens, we're not going to make it happen. So it has hit us in that way as well. But for me, for anybody who knows me, they will know that that is a cornerstone, and you can't be, in my mind, in a team where you have any doubt over your team members in that kind of situation. Um, I loved watching the YouTube, the two that you've put out already, and I'm sure it will grow and strengthen and grow and strengthen. Unfortunately, I think there are going to be, you know, wolves ripping it apart left, right, and centre all over.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
think the definitely the best thing to do is just keep it, stay in your own lane, and let them burn themselves out. Um, Going back to sort of the debunkers, though, one of the questions that always raises in my mind is they have a problem, like we said at the start, with the word professional paranormal investigator. So my question to the debunkers is, what gives them the credibility to call themselves debunkers?
Correct. In fact, I know exactly. I mean, the people we're talking about in question, there's lots of them out there, but they have been doing this for 2 or 3 years. I've been doing this for 25 years. I get paid to do my job. They don't, unless they've got a monetized channel when they're making 10 quid. That's about it. But in all fairness, it's not just about being paid to do your job and how many hours. There's no academic qualifications there. What gives them the authority to say that that is not right, or that is fake, or that is incorrect? Because actually, none of them have been supported by any or backed up with any scientific, credible evidence, or there's no technical knowledge there. There's nothing being imparted that supports their notion and their claims that what it is they've just watched is indeed fraudulent or fake or whatever you want to call it. And I've never had to defend my credibility before. This is a new thing for me. So, the show itself is Help My House is Haunted. Yeah, the haters will be haters. You get people that don't like the show, you get people that love the show. Most people love the show. That's great. But I've never had to personally defend my own credibility in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think I'm about to start doing that now either. I'm quite happy to, well, I've achieved and where I've come from, a long, long way. I am probably one of the most well-known paranormal investigators in this country, and in the world. I'm known everywhere, and that's because of the length of time I've done this job for, and also what I've given back to the paranormal field in terms of evidence and experiences and the contacts I've made. And yeah, I'm quite happy with everything. I don't. These are very small-minded groups of individuals, these debunkers and stuff, and they're only doing it to elevate themselves. And for those people that support them and go wholeheartedly, yeah, you've called out another one and stuff. I don't know what planet they're on, and maybe they don't believe in any of this stuff, whatever. But the debunkers, isn't it funny? But they go ghost hunting themselves, and so is everything that they're putting out there real? Are they not doing things, clickbaiting things, and faking evidence for views or whatever they're doing? We could call them out on the same thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a bit like Gogglebox, isn't it? It's like anybody can sit in an armchair and critique something from a
Yeah,
distance without intelligent engagement. And that's what frustrates me, because I think that these spaces are perfect opportunities for learning. When somebody sees something and thinks, I'm not quite sure about that, it's not quite right. Instead of asking that intelligent question and having a conversation with somebody who might be able to give a different point of view, it's just launched into and it's like a pack of wolves on it. And it's
yeah,
like, what good are we doing? Our own learning and our own research, if this is what we're kind of defending and having to batter back on. And I mean, no matter how much you try and stay in your lane, these things do touch you. They do kind of, I know for me it's only been a brief kind of wobble, but it's wobbled me, and I have gone, oi, oi, what's this about?
I know. It depends how you take it. Look, I take everything on the chin. It's like water off a duck's back for me, okay? Honestly, because I've done this job a long time, and I do get, negative hate mail, comments, emails. I've had all sorts, Kate, honestly, in the last 10 years. Uh, it doesn't just affect me though, it affects my wife, it affects my family. And, all of this crap stuff happened with one specific debunker, not recently, actually. It was a bit back before then. Um, it was all happening at a time when Emma's father, who
Mm,
sadly passed away, he had dementia, and we're trying to take care of him, and then he dies, and Emma's losing sleep over what people are saying about me,
mhm.
and she should be worrying about what else is going on. But it's just adding to her burden, it's adding to her worry, and that's not fair. So I
No.
hope those people are happy, because actually what they're doing is they're not just ripping me apart and taking the piss out of me, they're affecting my loved ones and my family unit. That therefore makes me cross and angry.
Mm.
Okay. And then, yeah, okay, I'll take legal action, whatever. But I can't waste any more money on these
No.
idiots. Honestly, it's just not worth it. I just crack on. I'll do me. They do them, and they just get on with it.
Yeah, so I think the lesson learned in this is, my message out there would be, let's get out the playground, let's get back in the classroom, let's start having debates, let's start being grown up about this, stop calling people names. And if you see something and don't like it, let's unpick it together, because this is what's going to elevate and grow the paranormal community and strengthen the paranormal community into finding out what we all want, which is answers. That's what we're all here for. I hope that we're all here for that purpose. So moving on a bit from that, but it's not too far away from that. I do, because we're kind of a fairy orientated channel. When I have a talk to you about fairies, and I'm laughing. I can't help but laugh every time I say that in a ghost hunting sense. So I was on the lovely Justin's Paranormal Monkey podcast a few days ago, and I decided to throw myself to the lions, and I did say that on his channel, and put my neck on the line about a subject that has been sort of bubbling up and again under examination, and that is non-human entities within the paranormal world, and a particular use of the word imp.
Hmm.
And I wanted to address it from a folklore background. It was received really well. It shocked me because I expected to be pulled apart, and I was quite ready for that. So I know that it's a terminology that you have openly used on Help My House is Haunted. And I wanted to discuss what that means to you as a word, and what kind of response you've had from using that terminology on the show.
Good, both good questions. I mean, the word imp, I guess it means different things to different people depending on their standpoint and views within the paranormal community. For me, the word imp denotes a mischievous, low-level negative entity that could either be from the elemental realm, doesn't necessarily have to be demonic, but in the cases that I've worked on, they are normally the foot soldiers of demonic beings. So again, it's a theological approach to and demonology. Imps are therefore the more mischievous entities that are responsible for the tricks, the mischief, the scratching, the destruction of objects and things, and also infesting locations and people that often then breed more negativity, and that negativity therefore transpires into further negativity, and it will create that black cloud cover that covers the entire location, property, and person, all consuming, all negative, and it's very difficult to try and get rid of. So here's the key thing here. We hear the word imp coming up a lot, especially on Help My House is Haunted in cases that we've dealt with. There's lots of reasons why. I'll try and summarize for you, but so, firstly, the cases themselves are cherry picked. They're cherry picked by production because we might have 100 cases that come in, and they will be shortlisted to 20, and then those 20, only 8 of them or 10 of them or 12 of them will get filmed, right? But the reason why is because those cases will be the darker and more dangerous cases that have the potential to be more entertaining. Why? Because that's what networks want these days. Having said that, those are the cases, therefore, that might be more demonic in nature, or ones that we perceive to be darker or potentially demonic in nature. Those are the things that tick their boxes. That's network. I just do my job. I get told, that's your case, Barry, have a look at it. And then I go, right, so I'm questioning these things. I'm looking at the content, I'm looking at the details. I'm trying my best to plan it and to work out what I'm going to do with it. But that means I might need extra support and help. Now, Kate, I've called on your support before with Faye cases where we've had pixies and things. Remember that years ago?
Mhm.
And then recently we've had those darker fuzzy wuzzies, as you called them,
Mm.
which were balls of negative energies, which might well, and this brings me on to my next point, might well have called themselves using ITC methods imps. And why is that? Because these entities often refer to themselves in ways that we understand. They know we understand that. They specifically know that I know what an imp is, and therefore my connotation of what that is already embedded firmly into my psyche. So when I hear the word imp, I immediately think, okay, I know what that is. I don't jump to a conclusion that it is always a demonic. I then have to ask those questions, and you'll tend to find that in the show. Most of the time, though, that program's edited down so much that you miss key points of us and questioning lines of inquiry, finding that information out. more appropriately. That is odd. I just had a shadow in the corner of my room. The
Talking
corner of
about
my
imp,
eye.
that is
I don't
talking
know,
about
well, I hope
imps.
not. This house isn't haunted. Okay. I have had personal paranormal experiences with things that I would consider to be impish in behavior. And the word imp derives from that folkloric tale. I think it's like mostly in Northern Europe where they originated from, where those gargoyle-looking creatures, the ones that you used to have on tops of churches and things to ward off evil spirits, they're shaped like goblins. They look like goblins. That is what an imp is. That's what it essentially looks like. The person that taught me about imps and brought them to the forefront of my attention and the attention of the paranormal world in terms of the media was Chris Fleming, who's been my co-star for Help My House Haunted series one and two, very knowledgeable, and has had first-hand paranormal experiences with entities that he called imps. And because of that, and because I've spoken openly about this subject with him and other people, and including yourself, Kate, the spirits, the entities that we're working with, the elementals, they know that we know that term. So they use it. They use it more and more often. So yes, when it comes up all the time, even recently in my paranormal investigation at Kleiny Rathmore Manor, clear as crystal, imp. I said, what are they here? Are they, I think Emma asked the question, are there human entities here? And Spirit Wave responded, not human. Well, what are they then? Imp.
Mm,
Well, it might not be a demonic imp, but imps also are these negative entities that are more mischievous, similar to your pixies, your brownies, your elves, your goblins. The things that live in the ethereal world, that entity, the world of the elementals and the fae that you're an expert on, Kate. They come from there. They stem from there. They're older than time. They were here before us. And as a result, they crop up more and more often, especially because I know they exist. If I know they
mhm.
exist, they're going to come and make themselves known to me. And they do that more and more often. They're not hiding anymore because they can't hide from us because we've already identified them. So I
Yeah.
think essentially that's one of the main reasons why they keep coming up.
Yeah, I think so. And I spoke about it when I was speaking about the folklore of imps. I totally agree with you that these non-human entities and even human entities will literally give you words to help identify them that are not necessarily direct words. So imp could be pertaining to their behavior. But the other aspect of that is it's easier phonically to get the word imp out on a piece of equipment than it is to say,
Yeah,
I am legions of devils, I am a lower demonic. That takes a hell of a lot of effort. But to just say imp and you know what kind of behavior you're dealing with, um, so like I totally agree with you. This could range right the way through from, elemental nature spirits. Have you got that? Have you got it again? Have you got that shadow again?
I don't know. I don't know. I had a notification, sorry, on my phone there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not alone.
It's because we're talking about them. Honestly, I've had loads of experiences when we've been talking about them. Um, yeah, so they even if they are from sort of nature spirits who have an impish behaviour, like that case that I was involved in series two, which was a pixie that was pissed off with having a tree cut down. That could have said that it could have identified itself as an imp because the behavior that it was portraying was almost like on a poltergeist type level. It was
Yeah.
moving things, throwing things, banging things, that kind of thing. So yeah, I totally agree. Can you just, for those who have maybe missed that kind of aspect within Help My House is Haunted, because if anybody is purely here for the fairy aspect of it, and they may think, well, why do I want to watch a ghost hunting show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you give some examples of when you've kind of had those moments with him? Because there've been quite a few which have been like
No.
quite shocking.
Yeah. Well, that's because the cases that we're investigating are not always, they're supernatural, obviously, cases, but they're not always going to be a residual energy, a ghost or a spirit, a human spirit, that is. Sometimes we have encountered other spirits that have communicated messages to us through forms of ITC that have indicated that what we might be dealing with, or what we are dealing with, or what could be affecting the case is non-human and therefore could be impish in nature or elemental. So we've encountered pixies, we've encountered gnomes and goblins, we've had references to these these creatures and elementals on cases, and then we've called in our experts, our fair experts like yourself, Kate. And we often need that because that's not my form of expertise. Okay, I've read stuff, I've researched stuff, I know stuff, I've experienced stuff, but I want to hear it from people like yourself that have a bit more knowledge about that subject matter. Specifically, I'll give you an example here for the audience here. So, why are these pixies upset and angry with the homeowners? I had no idea. And you told us about an apple tree that they had cut down. Now, this was a psychic thing, Kate, remember? You picked up on this remotely. They cut down an apple tree and they angered and upset the pixies that lived in the property and on the land there and or resided in that area, angered them so much that they played up
Mm.
and they just needed to be appeased and said, please, can you calm yourself down? I'm sorry. Essentially, it was giving back to them. And that is it, a beautiful, amazing paranormal case that wasn't a human spirit. It was an elemental. That's brilliant.
Mm.
Fantastic.
There was one that I think it was attributed to an imp. There was one case where, and it was fairly recently, where you'd gone into a property and you ended up with some pins in your leg, some
Oh
like
my God,
board
yes.
pins. Was that an imp? Was that an imp one?
The specifics of that case, it was not, I wouldn't say it's a demon, but it's something that considered itself to have the powers of a demon. I
Yeah.
think it was impish behavior. That's the problem. We're never going to get the
Mm,
truth, the answer out of them. So they'll always lie, they'll always mislead you and lead you up a garden path. As far as I'm concerned, what we were dealing with was something, a series of entities of power that had negative intent,
mhm.
malicious intent to scare and to hurt and scratch and cause pain. And it was really just a method of scaring us off. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I, you know, I know firsthand that if the spirit wants to hurt you and it has the power to do so, it will and it can.
Yeah.
And it's very rare, but if you put yourself in these positions time and time again, you've got more chance of encountering entities of that nature. Now,
Yeah.
maybe there's been one case where we encountered, and it's based on your religious beliefs, of course, but we encountered a true demon in the sense of the word, a demon from your Christian theology. Um, I don't know if the others were. All I know is that they called themselves demons, or they
Mm,
gave themselves names to attributed to demons in folklore and demonology text. Who knows? I can't
mm,
tell you 100% if that's the case. All I can tell you is that's what they presented to us. And when they present themselves to us, or they talk about imps, normally, and this is something I learned from Chris Fleming here, that the imps would be the foot soldiers of the demonic entities doing their bidding as such, normally sent in first, like your first line of defense, in order to infiltrate and attack and break down their victims to insidiously possess. Now, that is again a demonology term there, but to possess is to infiltrate, to oppress, and eventually take them over and take their soul. But that does happen. And that
mm.
does happen, and people allow that to happen. Sometimes they don't even know that's happening. And that's why it's imperative that we get in there quick, we identify, we just remove and banish and pray, and we use different methods in order to get rid of these spirits, as you've seen, from
Mm.
everything from prayer to the power of visualization to blessings, amulets, talismans, chanting, smudging, singing, tone, frequency, everything. We throw the bloody book at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you've got to, and I think you're right about, I mean, no matter what your religious persuasion is, and no matter what name you attribute these things to, that they are out there. There are these dark, very dark energies. Now, whether I've got a growing theory that they're egregorial, that they're actually brought into the world because of a mass belief in them through religious practice, but it makes them no less the powerful and no less, it doesn't make them any less malevolent than they actually are. But in my experience, and I'm sure it's the same as yours, where you're talking about imps come in as in, the first foot soldiers,
Yeah.
in a folklore sense, that they will kind of infest and come into a property that's already got darkness in it, and they will sort of break. down the psychology of those people in that property with constantly keeping people awake, or giving people nightmares, or doing sort of poltergeist type activity, which then ramps up any other entities
Yeah.
which come into that property, and it's a cycle. So no
Yeah.
matter what your kind of religious background is, the way these things are out in it, out in the ether, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And that way you talked about that cycle there, that happens quite frequently. And
Yeah,
it breeds and then it follows on to the next thing, and therefore that has a knock-on effect to the next thing. So to break that cycle, you often have to find the root cause of it. And sometimes the negative human spirit that resides in the place or the property, they are so down and negative that they've attracted the other things to them. We find that as one scenario. Another scenario is people, human beings like us, conjuring these things. Now, you can summon and conjure them through any form of divination, whether that is use of the spirit board, whether that's just calling out doing EVP work, whether that is simply being incantations, or being so open and sensitive and susceptible to the spirit world that you can invoke those entities yourself just by being there. I know
yeah.
because I've done it, so have you. But that is depending on the type of person you are and putting yourself in those positions and situations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure you're exactly the same, and I know you're exactly the same. But I will never ever do any work in my own home if I've got a feeling that there's something about, and we've all had it. We've all had snapback spirits or snapback entities that have kind of, come into the property, and then they're off again back to wherever they came from, and it's just a brief, paranormal flurry. I wouldn't ever get my equipment out in that situation. I'd be like, right, you're gone. You're not paying rent. Off you go. I'm smudging
Yeah.
this place. I'm opening the windows. You can bugger off. And I think any paranormal investigator who does stuff in their own home, you've got to be super secure that you can put down whatever you call up, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't do anything in the house. In fact, Emma won't let me.
Yeah.
But, we've had paranormal experiences here, and that is a risk of the job I do.
Yes.
It's now a risk of the job we do because we also, as you know, Kate, as you joined us there on the team, we deliver public paranormal events at some haunted locations across the country. Now, when we do that, there is always a chance of bringing something back. You go to properties that are done to death by paranormal groups day in, day out, week in, week out. The problem is, you think that you're going into a classic case of spiritual haunting or whatever. You're not. All of these places are a melting pot of spiritual activity caused and created by us, the paranormal investigators and the public, who often go in there dabbling and doing whatever they can to stir that shit up and
Hmm.
to open portals and to summon spirits and to use the power of spiritual divination in order to attract them into the building to get entertaining value out of their money.
Yep.
A lot of teams do that, and people that haven't been doing this job long, they do it all the time. We therefore then go in and think, I'll give you an example, the Ram Inn, right?
Yeah.
Every time I've been there 100 times, every time I've been there, it's all different. I'm like, what the fuck? What's different now? Oh my God. So we've got imps calling out now, telling us they're there. And the next time I've got children's spirits crying out for help. And the time after that, I've got old men that used to drink in the pub there or whatever, possessing my guests and stuff. I mean, we've had some really strange things
Mm.
happen. So it is difficult, isn't it? Because people unknowingly and unwittingly conjure and create these entities and they bring them in and they allow them in and they do it sometimes because by choice, but most of the time it's unknown to them.
It is, and those places, and the Ram is a perfect example. That must be like some kind of dark spiritual beacon for at least a 50-mile radius.
Yeah,
If you're a wandering spirit or whatever, you're just going to go, hold on a cotton picking minute. There's a massive party going. It's like spirit rave, isn't it?
yeah,
Because we have had such a wide range, and things that, it's traditionally it's the bishop in the bishop's room, the witch in the witch's room. You've got
yeah,
John there, and whatever. And it's like, how often do we come across those things? Like hardly ever. And it's all this other random stuff, isn't it? And we did go through a massive spate of imps just being really active, like
yeah.
really active.
Not many people see them, okay? Emma, right, who is completely kind of like newbie to this, but a total believer and everything. Um, one of her first investigations of the ram, she saw two small shadow figures that looked 2 foot, 3 foot tall, going around in the back bar area, and they set off one of the devices. Then that was cool because it was a corroborating bit of evidence, visual evidence there, and captured alongside the dead bell going off at the same time. And that had a PIR sensor, which is a passive infrared recognition sensor there. Something obviously moved past that PIR sensor to set the device off. So you do physically need to do that. She saw something and it had mass. The mass allowed that device to go off. At the same time, we had Imp come up in Spirit Wave. We've had Imp on the other ITC devices. I've heard that even whispered as EVP.
Hmm.
And you're right. And Imps are cropping up time and time again. They aren't new things. They've
Mm.
always been there. So the reason why we're hearing more about them, okay, is not because we're throwing them in the mix to make it more entertaining. It's because we know they're there, and popular culture has brought them to the surface and attention of the audience and ourselves and as investigators, and they're making themselves known. They can't hide forever, and because they can't hide, they're there now. They're at the forefront. They've always been there. In fact, how can you deny the fact that since the history of time, there have been more reports of scrapes, noises, knocks, poltergeist-like activity and stuff that's been documented in texts for hundreds of years. They're all attributed to spirit, and those spirits are those impish,
Mm.
devilish type beings. So actually, you can argue all you like, you skeptics, but that's been going on for a long, long time. You know,
Has.
um, yeah, it
I
has.
looked
Yeah,
I looked into the history of it, and it's something that I am going to be delving more and more into. But uh, the that kind of activity from non-human entities within the ether literally predates our understanding of apparitions within culture. So that kind of poltergeisty type activity is documented way before the classic apparitions and people seeing shadow figures, etc. So it is this very ancient embedded thing. And I think the other aspect of why it's becoming more to the forefront is whereas before they are tricksters, they are deceivers all.
yeah.
So before they would have had, I can imagine, I try to put myself in the kind of mindset of why they do things, which is, it's a tricksy thing to do, but they are tricksy. But if you talk about it in terms of, a kid having a giggle, having a laugh about something and telling fibs and getting away with telling fibs. So if you're on ICT or you're on a spirit board or whatever you're doing to try and communicate with spirit, and it comes through, I don't know, Rob Jones on any of these devices, and you're calling out saying, "Oh, Rob Jones, what did you do?" If I'm an imp, I'd be sat back going, "I'm not Rob Jones, but I'm going to roll with this." So just kind of making up that very trickster element. The
Yeah.
other aspect is, do they then take on the information from the spirits of the dead in a property? So it's known that spirits and non-human entities are very aware of each other. And I did read somewhere, and I can't remember what text it was that said that spirits of the dead find these things bothersome. It was that particular word. If they find them bothersome, so they do know about each other.
I've heard that too, Kate. In fact, I read something recently that said exactly the same thing. Spirits of the dead find these imps bothersome, and
Yes,
therefore they call them out. And they're the spirits that help us along with our own investigations. So we ask
yeah,
the question and we get the answer. What is here and how can we help you? And they say imp, imp, imp. Why? Because they know we understand what that is.
yes, yeah. And it must be really annoying, you're trapped in between, this world and moving on. And then all of a sudden you've got these bloody things scurrying around like, kids who have had too many ear numbers. And on top of it, they've got sharp claws and they can,
Exactly.
they can, be
Yeah.
absolutely horrendous.
I got
You must be
scratched.
crying out for help.
Yeah, I got scratched. 3 scratches. Now, I know that seems like a cliche. It's not. Chris Fleming told me about imps and their physiological makeup because he saw them as a kid and he sketched them out in some brilliant, beautiful sketches. They look like little gargoyles, and they have
Yeah.
this claw on their thumb, and they have these 3 fingers, and they will use that to scratch.
Hmm.
So I remember in a case in Norfolk, I was in a barn area, and I'm sure I was holding an SLS camera, and I felt a burning, sharp sensation on my back. And I told them, I announced what happened, and the cam, they pulled up my jumper, my jacket while I was wearing, and there were three deep welts on my back. And
Mm.
that made it into that episode. I'm sure of it. It was like season 2 of Help My House is Haunted. There's no logical explanation for it. How the hell did I suddenly get these three scratches? Especially when we were dealing with what Chris had considered to be an impish case.
Yes. Yeah, it is incredible. And that would be, in a religious term, they're mocking the Holy Trinity, and it could quite
Yeah,
easily be that even if imps are from the elemental Fey realm, that they would still mock that anyway. That would be part of their makeup to mock
yeah, yeah,
religion.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It doesn't it all kind of fits in no matter what kind of quarter that you're coming from. What time are we on? We are we
Cool. I've got like less than 10% battery.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So, quick things that we need to get through. I have to ask the question because I know it'll be for anybody who knows you, they'll be asking the question. There's been lots of talk about Help My House is Haunted, and are you able to talk about where you're at with that or what's happening?
Yeah. So, I know as much as everyone else now. I mean, I guess that we finished filming series 7 of the main series. We filmed the Celebrity Help My House It's Haunted series 5 that recently aired. So all programs have aired, 119 eps in total. And unfortunately, we're now having a break, and that break is based on the fact that they just haven't commissioned another series. And
Yeah,
when asking why they haven't commissioned another series, essentially there's a lot of changes that are taking place there, within Warner Brothers Discovery, and yeah, you've probably seen on the news in the last couple of days, Netflix merger bid buyout, and then Paramount coming in and stuff. So there's a huge amount taking place over in the United States of America. All of that has an impact on programming, scheduling, and content and whatever. So as far as I'm concerned, I love the show. It'd be great to do another series. We just haven't been given the green light to go ahead and film another series. So Ian, Jane, and myself, we're working on our own things. That's why I decided to launch my own YouTube channel, try and get some content on there, paranormal investigations, and get everyone, embedded firmly in my investigations and how I'm doing things because I love doing it. So why stop?
yeah.
But that's where we're at with Help My House is Haunted. So it's not that the show's been canned at all. It's that the show simply hasn't been recommissioned due to their own internal politics and changes, and that's it. I mean, we filmed two years of episodes back to back. That's a lot.
Mhm.
We need a break. So actually, it was quite nice to have a little bit of time off because otherwise we go from one series straight into another with only a couple of weeks off in between. That's hard work for anyone. I mean, it's nice to have some downtime and spend time with my family. So yeah, yeah. I guess that's where we're at the moment, Kate.
So it's never say never, which is good to hear. It's definitely good to hear.
Never
So
say never.
never say never. Where can people find you? Tell us again what the YouTube channel's called. If people want to get in contact with you, where do they find you?
Well, I mean, for those that don't know who I am, obviously I present a show called Help My House is Haunted, which is on Discovery Plus and Really channel. It's pretty much on a lot of channels that, the reruns of it take place on terrestrial telly and stuff as well. Um, you can find me on my website, barryguy.com. I have an official Facebook page at official Barry Guy, official Instagram page, but my brand new YouTube channel, which is at the Ghost Ghai, play on words, play on names here. Guy spelled Ghai. Please look me up, subscribe, and watch all the content that's on there, and hit that notification bell because I'm uploading stuff all the time now, even if it's shorts and not full-on paranormal investigations. And I don't want people to miss a trick there because there's going to be so much brand new content coming out in the new year.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting times. And it's great because you can do what you want in the way that you want to do it and investigate how you investigate, which is must be really kind of a freeing moment.
Yeah. You know what? You hit the nail on the head. I wasn't going to say that, but I will because it is liberating. It's liberating
Mm,
because I feel free to do things exactly how I want to do it. The production value is up to me and up to my wife Emma, who's shooting it. So it's a matter of working collaboratively with a passion that we have collectively grown. And I couldn't do this without Emma. She's bloody
Yeah.
brilliant, honestly. Like, she's propped me up, held me up when I've been feeling low and stuff, really pushed me forward, and she believes in me, and that's all I need. So yeah, I love it. I love the freedom and the flexibility to do what I want to do on my own channel. And I've got the support of my wonderful friends like you, Kate, and my GP team. So we've got some great paranormal events coming up soon, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah, we have. So if anybody wants to find out about going ghost hunting with you, there's lots coming up next year, isn't there? We've got some new venues as well, haven't we? So
Yeah, go
where do
hunting
the
with us. Yeah.
yeah. So where
So
can people find out about the events? Where people can go for that?
the events are normally on like my Facebook page. I just promote them on there and stuff. But if you want to book on an event, go to www.barryguy.com. Those
Yeah.
events will be listed on the homepage of the website, and you can book yourself on. Most of them, as you know, are sold out until next year, mid next year even. But I will be releasing new events and stuff, and then as soon as they're up there, book yourself on, and you get the opportunity to investigate with me and with Kate firsthand, and the rest of our team. And I've got some paranormal masterclasses. There were still some tickets
Yeah.
available, actually. So that one in Glastonbury, which is a brilliant place, as you know,
Hmm.
there are tickets available to join me and yourself if you're coming, Kate, aren't you? Yes,
Yep.
no?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
So that'll be on the 28th of February, 2026. So please, yeah, book yourself on.
Yep. And definitely you won't be disappointed. And at this point, we'll just big up the rest of the team. Absolutely fantastic. Really, we've got a
Yeah.
tight team.
Yeah, I could not do it without all of them. They are brilliant. We've got Debbie, we've got Russ, we've got Phil, we've got yourself, Kate, we've got Glenn, we've got Liz now, we've got Sam, we've got Nikki, and we've got our Emma as well. Have I missed anyone? I hope not.
No,
So no, I don't
I
think
think
I have.
that's it.
We've
Yeah.
we've got we've got a brilliant team. We're all skilled at different things, and it'd be great to have some of your followers and your audience here come and join us on a paranormal investigation, and they get to meet us firsthand. It'd be nice. I can, get to learn some stuff off the Fae folk.
I'm sure you will. And the last big up that I want to give is to Emma, for lots of things, but particularly, I will say this: her camera skills, and to say that she's not proficient or trained in any kind of camera quality, absolutely mind blowing. She
I
did
love it.
so well videoing for
I
you. It
literally
was brilliant.
gave her the phone, gave her the rig, put a mic on, and I went, "Here, film me." I just gave her some literally 5 minutes of a crash course in filming, which is your pans, your tilts, your slow mos. That
Mhm.
was it. Spot
She
on.
was off.
Couldn't have asked. She's the director of photography I've always wanted to work with.
Yeah, brilliant. So I think that's about it. We will get you back on, maybe in the new year when there'll be other stuff that come up. We'll go, oh, we can chat about that, and
Okay?
new work that you're doing on YouTube. We'll catch up and see what's happening with different aspects. I'm sure there'll be lots of different weird and wonderful, exciting avenues to explore in that channel. So we'll definitely get you back. And I want to thank you so much, Barry, for coming and having a chat with me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on, Kate.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.